You know, I still believe.
We've been creating content for over a decade now, week in and week out, new relevant content for the past decade. And as you can imagine, I've basically consumed any and all relevant real estate content over that past decade to help create this show. And I say all of that to say this: I think I may have just read one of the best articles written during my time at the RE Source. And the best part is, and maybe this makes me a little biased, it was written by one of our friends, Kristen Messerly. She's been on the show a few times and we are big fans, but still, great article, spot on, and we are working to get her back on the show to discuss this article. Let's set the stage though. Kristen's article is titled "Millennials Don't Trust Lenders or the Housing Market, So How Do We Reach Them?" I want to hit some highlights and then tell you why I believe she is spot on. She opens with this: one of the most defining characteristics of the millennial generation's experience with the financial and housing ecosystem is that of fear. As a result, they have developed a mistrust of banks, lenders, and the housing market overall. In one study by Even Financial, 92% of millennials stated that banks could not be trusted, and over half said they didn't have anyone to turn to for financial advice. She sums up the first paragraph with this: access to home ownership for this generation isn't about credit, it's about access to trustworthy advice, transparent information, and personalization. One more sentence before I jump in though. She later writes, for millennials who entered adulthood during or immediately following the financial crisis, homeownership does not necessarily translate to security. In fact, to this generation, the entire system their parents raised them in appears to have crumbled around them, and to a certain extent, they feel betrayed. So we've actually talked about this and the why behind it on our show in the past, making similar points, so I obviously agree with Kristen, but I want to dig in a little bit more into the why. See, I noticed something early on in my career. As I worked with executives and leaders and top performers, they all shared one thing that I observed. Heck, we all do. What happens to us early on in our lives shapes us as adults. Most of us understand this on a surface level, but the more you dig into this, the more fascinating it really gets. Life lessons learned at an early age can and will trump lessons learned later in life, when your brain and overall understanding of life is more developed and mature. I've seen it over and over again. 40 and 50-year-old executives, CEOs, and leaders will continue to behave and treat and interact with people based on their experiences growing up. The mistrust of an absent father or a parent 30 years prior will shape how they interact with their associates today. Even though they've received world-class training from their companies, that childhood experience will overpower lessons learned later in life. I've seen this over and over and over again, and it was reaffirmed again the past few weeks. I spent 3 days with some of the best in the industry and listened to their origin stories. They were amazing, and all of us, and I mean all of us, had an origin story or experience in life that set us on the path that we are on today. They were all early on in life. Watching a mother pawn her wedding ring to take her son on a special dinner, losing the childhood home to foreclosure or mistrust or abuse from family or the closest people to them. These experiences shaped who we are at an early age, and it's really, really difficult to break free from that, which again is fascinating to me. How can something that happened to me in my teen years shape who I am today as an adult? I mean, I've lived 20 to 30 years past that time in my life, grown up, understand life and people better, received training on how to best lead and manage and build trust, but deep down, that origin experience is the foundation of who we really are, and that's why Kristen is spot on. These young people lived through the Great Recession during these informative years, and now this has become their origin story. This will be difficult to overcome, but Kristen also talks about how, as real estate professionals, we can help overcome this and best communicate to these millennials. As a former social worker, Kristen talks about a therapeutic model called TIC, or Trauma-Informed Care, outlining 5 overarching principles in the TIC approach. Now, you'll need to click on the link that will be in the comment section below to read more about them, but the 5 principles are safety, transparency, choice, collaboration, and empowerment. This article is very, very, very good, and we will have Kristen on next week to dig in deeper, but she gives realtors and lenders really good solutions, and if you're creating content to reach millennials, please consider what Kristen said in this article. I'll close with one of the best statements. Access to home ownership for this generation isn't about credit. It's about access to trustworthy advice, transparent information, and personalization. Our content, our approach, our marketing should be educational, transparent, informative, and personalized. Struggling for content or an overarching theme to your brand? You may want to start there. Good stuff, Kristen. I loved it. Hey guys, what are your thoughts on this today? Please respond below. We went a little deep today, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Also, play this at your team meeting and get a little vulnerable and open up and talk about this article and then how we should best respond as real estate professionals moving forward. Make sure you like and share, and we'll see you guys next week.